Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Double Play. I'm Ryan. That's Jack, and today we are going to be previewing the 2023 season for the reigning NL Central champs. That is the Cardinals, continuing a series that we've done. I think this is our last team, Jack. So
this is number 30.
This is number 30. So if you want to check out all those, make sure you do that because they're all posted. We've worked hard on this, spent a lot of work on it. But Jack, let's talk about their offseason first before we move on to their 2023 season. They added the big fish. I'll let you go ahead and talk about that, or at least the big fish for them. I'll let you go ahead and talk.
Yeah, I mean, they cast a shallow net, and because they wanted that one big fish, and I think they were content with just adding that one name, and it's a big one that we talked about earlier this week, and that's Willson Contreras. Comes over from the Cubs to the rival, the St. Louis Cardinals. Talk about, stabbing the Cubs fans in the back, and of course the words added on top of it that it's the best organization that he's saying it's. Cubs fans, we're sorry, but Cardinals fans, you got to be pretty happy about this because Willson Contreras, being the new backstop for the Cardinals for probably the rest of his career, that's a big deal, especially because to get into some of the subtractions, on that list is a guy like Yadier Molina who opted to retire, as well as Albert Pujols. They also lose Jose Quintana, he goes to the Mets, as well as Alex Reyes, he signed with your Dodgers, Ryan, on a minor league deal. A couple other things I wanted to note because they didn't sign anyone else. They did retain Nolan Arenado, which was up in the air, and he actually stayed on the same contract that he was on, which for a guy like Nolan who could have demanded more money from the Cardinals or maybe someone else, that's a big deal. And they also keep Adam Wainwright for another year. So they didn't add a lot on the pitching side, but they do keep Adam Wainwright. I know you want to talk about pitching, Ryan, so I'll let you go there.
So I will say I love the addition of Willson Contreras, and it's a great replacement for Yadier Molina, who he's not going to bring kind of the presence to the pitching staff and kind of the defense and the signal calling that he did, although he's no slouch there. He's going to bring a major impact on the offensive side, for at least as far as the catching position goes, and I love that addition, and I think you're going to talk about that one a little bit more, and it's the biggest in my opinion, but I think the lack of adding any pitching is what still stands out to me, and they still lack a true ace, and I think that's kind of what I wanted to see going into this offseason, and the lack of seeing that kind of first. I know Flaherty can be it, and I still kind of believe in him. We were doing our fantasy baseball draft. I was texting, or we were on the phone during it. It's like, do I dare draft Flaherty for, I think, a third straight year now? I think I've had 2020, 2021, and 2020, or this would have been the third straight year, but we really haven't seen him be as dominant since 2019 now. So I think it's something that is possible for them, and maybe I look at this differently. Them not adding a true ace of Flaherty can be that, but you can't really bank on that when you're going into the offseason, especially when you're a team that just won the NL Central, then got bounced in the first round of the playoffs, and you're kind of hoping you want to capitalize on the window that is Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. You want to be in a win now type of mode, and I don't really feel like that's what they're in. So yeah, adding Contreras is great, but I wanted to see more, especially on the pitching side.
Yeah, I remember when I doing my free agency predictions, which I'm so terrible at every year, but at the same time, I did predict them to get a Carlos Rodon. And when I do my predictions, maybe I'm picking the wrong guy. Like, I think I had the Astros signing Josh Bell. They didn't do that, but they signed Jose Abreu. Like, I kind of look at what positions I really think teams need to and probably will spend on. And starting pitching was, I thought this was the year the Cardinals would go out, especially when they lucked out without Nolan Arenado opting out. So they didn't have to pay him any more money than they already were. I thought that was a time where they would turn their money to the pitching side. And I know they like Adam Wainwright, and they like Miles Mikolas, and they like Jordan Montgomery, who they got from the Yankees at last year's trade deadline, but this was the time to go out and add a starting pitcher because there were some good ones on the market. DeGrom, Kodai Senga, Rodon, who I just mentioned, some of these other guys that we've talked about, even a Chris Bassett I would have really liked for the Cardinals. But I will talk about the Willson Contreras move, and I talked about it in the Cubs episode, that he's going to bring over some of the experience and leadership that he has that will, I think, minimize the damage that the loss of Yadier Molina will have on that side. Now, I mean, we talked about Yadi in the past couple of years. He's not the same player he used to be, but he still is a great leader. He's good for the pitching staff. Contreras won't be the same in that regard, but he's still very, very good, and he, as you mentioned, is a big upgrade offensively. So I like the addition of Contreras. I agree with you that they should have added some more pitching or added, anywhere else in general, which is why I went with a C-. I do think it was a lackluster offseason, and I think that they could have added more, especially in the starting pitching side. They like some of their prospects, I think, like Matthew Liberatore, and they've found some success with pitching, but when it comes down to that playoff series that you could maybe expect them to have this year if they're rematching with the Phillies or playing some of these other teams that have aces they're going to roll out on both days in a 3-game series, are Adam Wainwright and Miles Mikolas striking fear into your opponent? I don't quite think so, which is why I went with the C-.
And that's more of what it comes down to. It's not that I don't like this rotation. I kind of do like the rotation as a whole. Like I said, it lacks an ace, and it lacks a guy who's going to win you a playoff game. It's like, go out there and be like, I just did the MLB March Madness bracket, and it really comes down to like a 1-game, or in this case, a 3-game series. It comes down to so much. If you're going to advance, do you have the pitching to do it? Your lineup can carry you in 1 game, but if you're running into a Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola back-to-back, it's unlikely that you're going to get, maybe you can steal 1 and hopefully get the 3rd, but doing that, like we saw literally just last year, the Cardinals were the better team. They had the better record. Everything on paper pointed to the Cardinals, but they got swept in 2 games at home. So I do like the rotation. I think, over 162, it's going to perform. But when it comes down to a playoff series, and when you're a team that needs to capitalize on your window, I need to see more.
So what grade did you end up going with?
I actually did a C+. And I think if you look at them, it's C+ with needs. If you look at the offseason, I probably would have given it a B-. But like I keep saying, I want to see them add that pitcher, and it just didn't. So I think a C+. They still get better, but I just wanted to see more.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're a team that can afford to be a little bit risky, and maybe you go out and sign some of these players that we've talked about, like the Rangers, where they added a lot of risky pitchers. Andrew Heaney, Nathan Eovaldi. They bring back Martin Perez, who you're gambling about whether he's going to do the same thing he did last year. If you're the Cardinals, for my what to expect, I'm expecting them to win the division. I think that they are one of the more secure teams when it comes to winning their division in baseball. And you could make the argument they're the team that should be the biggest favorite to win their division, because the rest of the Central is a weaker roster, objectively, on paper. Even when it comes to pitching staffs, you're comparing them to teams like the Cubs. The Cardinals clearly have the better staff. So I think they're a team that could have afforded to go make that big move, because A, you can almost guarantee yourself a spot in the playoffs. B, you can be pretty confident you're going to win the Central again. And C, you have some money. Go out and make that one move. So to get into my what to expect, I expect them to win the Central again, but I agree with you that this would have been the time to go out and add that pitcher, because you can feel pretty confident you're going to be back in October, and that's when you want to have that number 1 ace true starting pitcher, and they're a team that can take that risk.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to win the division again, and anything can happen in the postseason, but as I've kind of let slip through here, my opinion is that I'm not expecting a playoff run. Just with the pitching staff, and some of it's not even their fault, just some of the other teams that are in the National League, Dodgers, Braves, Padres, Phillies. Padres and Phillies are the ones that made runs last year, and kind of surprisingly, those 2 weren't even the top dogs. So when you get into those 4 teams, and not even to mention the Mets, I just think of those 6 teams that are probably going to be playoff teams from the National League, I think Cardinals, on paper, the team I like least to kind of make a playoff run. And so that's where we keep saying they're going to be in the playoffs. So that's where we're saying we could have seen more, but that's where it hurts. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. Another spot in the playoffs and home field advantage in the wild card, and anything can happen, but I think that's might be all they get.
I went player focused for my bold prediction, and you know me. Can you guess what player I decided to focus my prediction around?
Oh, yeah. Lars.
I went with Lars Nootbaar to make the All-Star game. That is my bold prediction. Now, he is a former USC Trojan, so I'm a little bit biased, but he is everyone's favorite player right now. So I'm not putting too much blame on myself, but he was also awesome last year with a 125 WRC plus. He's great in the outfield. He's been the leader of Team Japan out of all people in the WBC, giving out pregame speeches, and he will have a chance to be an everyday player in St. Louis, and I think he's going to take that opportunity and run with it. He's going to play one of the corner outfield spots, and I think he's going to be very, very good. He'll eventually work his way up the Cardinals lineup, not going to say he's going to, be better than Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, those guys that are on this stacked Cardinals roster, but I think he makes the All-Star game as one of the outfielders. Everyone, including myself, is in love with Lars Nootbaar right now. Maybe I'm hoping he doesn't end the U.S.'s hopes in the WBC if Japan were to win on the day we're recording this today when they're playing Mexico right now. But I think everyone loves Lars right now, and I am one of those people. So I like Lars Nootbaar, and I think he's going to make the All-Star game.
I went with another player to pick up an accolade here. I went with Jordan Walker winning the Rookie of the Year, and that's kind of the first kind of overall award prediction that we've given out, and those we're all giving them out on our preview that's coming out in a couple of days now, full season preview. But I thought for our last episode here, I'd give one of my picks, and I think the Cardinals. I like what he's done in spring training, and I really kind of think it's him or a Corbin Carroll at this point. And I feel like a lot of people are going to pick Corbin Carroll, so I'm going with Jordan Walker. I think he definitely has the talent to do it, and he's shown the potential. So I'm going with him to win Rookie of the Year, and I think that's going to be what I'm sticking with come our full award prediction coming out later next week.
Yeah, I'm in love with Jordan Walker as well. I'm not going to spoil my Rookie of the Year pick, but he was one of the guys I was picking between. The thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around is where exactly he's going to play, because in the outfield, as it shakes out right now, I think you're going to have O'Neill, Carlson, and Nootbaar. He's not playing third base because that's where Nolan is, so maybe you're putting him at DH, or you're playing him in left and moving one of those other guys to DH. So I think it might be harder for him to crack the starting lineup than maybe a guy like Corbin Carroll, but I love Jordan Walker. I think he's got as good a chance as anyone in the National League as rookies to win that award, and he's such a stud.
I agree. I think right now he's projected to be the DH, so I think he could do that. But that's all we've got for today, and that's all we've got for our season previews. They are completely done. So if you want to see another team, another player that you like, make sure you go check out their team. They're all going to be linked in the description at the end of this. So they're all on our page. Make sure you comment down below what you think of the Cardinals. Subscribe to see more baseball content, see where we've got the Cardinals. If we change our mind, maybe we've got them making a deep playoff run. Jack really never gave his thoughts, so maybe Jack's got them doing something this year. So make sure you go on and check out that episode or that video coming out. What was that, Tuesday?
We're going to have record predictions and playoff predictions on Tuesday, and Wednesday will be our award predictions. So you got to be subscribed, though, to come check it out.
There you go. So make sure you subscribe, like this video as well. But until next time, we'll see you soon. We've been Double Play. See you later.